Caspar here on the 16th of November 2020. I've just finished tasting a range of 2019 samples in these little diddy bottles from estate Georges Lignier in Moray-Saint-Denis, I just thought these were a bit on the small side. I generally like a bigger sample to do a proper assessment, but goodness me, I've been absolutely blown away by this range. I was yesterday, day before yesterday, tasting the wines of Georges Lignier. These are amazing. So what have I tasted? I've tasted Chambol Village, Gevrey Village. Then I stepped up to a Premier Cru Volnay, just labelled Premier Cru. No vineyard mentioned on the label. Then I think what I think is a monopole of Georges Lignier, Moray-Saint-Denis, Premier Cru, Clos des Ormes. And then Gevrey Chambertin, Premier Cru Les Combottes. And then I've just also tasted Clos de la Roche, stepping up to Grand Cru. Getting a feeling for the it's always very difficult assessing a vintage, in fact assessing individual wines from barrel samples, but getting a feeling from this vintage from samples I've tasted today and the Georges Lignier samples of a day or two ago. This seems to be a vintage of great ripeness, but also really good structure as well, good acidity, and a stamp of place, a terroir sort of indication as well, and ravishing, really ripe fruit. I think this is what modern Burgundy is about. I think with these hot, ripe vintages, I think you get this very exuberant, ripe fruit, and it's just as long as you get something else with it, a bit of terroir, a bit of sense of place, which is of course why people pay a lot of money for wines like this. This is the last one of the tasting. I thought we could just do it together. This is Clos Saint-Denis, which is kind of one of the more, I suppose, slightly arcane Grand Cru vineyards of the Côte de Nuit, and I've had some stunning examples. Just a nose of complication and class and elegance and purity. Lovely definition. I'm going to struggle to describe that. It's fruit is dark, blue and black. There's a bit of spice and almost sort of nori seaweed like character to it. It's really beautifully pure. It's got a dark red and black fruit. There's a density to the nose, but there's also a clarity, a purity. Goodness me, it just smells fabulous. I mean, it smells like the sort of wine that will go on to become something that sort of knocks your socks off a few years down the track. And it's 25 to 8 at night. I'm not going to spit that out. Really lovely, rich tannins that have a sort of almost paste-like texture to them. They're ripe and they're present, and they push right forward into the distance. It stays with me. It's a very long thing. Super purity and lovely acidity. It's light, slightly hidden under a bushel, despite the fact that you can it's the richness and ripeness of fruit is very apparent, and it's sort of this silky, slightly plush texture to it. It's got more to give. It's perhaps harder to assess than any of the other wines in the lineup, but just even from the village Gevrey and Chambol through, and this is only part of the range of Georges Lignier. I really wouldn't be unhappy to have any of these. in my portfolio. Just completely delicious wines. If you're a burgundy lover, I think just grab something from this vintage. Georges Lignier would be good. Jérôme Chazot as well. I'm going to go on tasting. I've got a load more samples to taste, but just the outline of a really super offer. Delicious wines, fabulous.